All right, another day. Time to keep moving forward on this project. So, what we did yesterday was we were able to get it such that the project was able, let me get the project up. Okay. I forgot to float on top. Hold on a second. There we go. So, we were able to get these different microservices. We have API Gateway, which we're actually not even using right now. We have customer resource and consumer resource and producer resource, and both of these are microservices which are in the back end. Then I have this front end service, and this is the one that actually renders things that will render things. It's not rendering things right now, but that will render a web page to the user so that the user can interact. It needs to do authentications and validations, all of that stuff, right? Like authenticate the user, keep track of who's doing what, etc. We're not doing that yet. But what I was able to get was this front end microservice to be able to talk to this producer microservice through registering them in Eureka and then utilizing that data to that service data that was registered in Eureka server to be able to know where to actually send those requests between the microservices. So today, what I'm going to try to do is go through that again and try to understand what's going on, because yesterday, I was just pasting stuff in. I was trying to get something to work. Now I saw that it worked and I was able to get that communication going. Great. Now let's do not opposite, but let's actually understand what's going on. So that's what's going to happen today. Let me open up this front-end service and try to understand what's going on with Eureka, how all that's working. So, actually, maybe I should start here. Eureka Java, and then in here we have this application property, and this says the port that the Eureka server is running on. And then we don't want to register the Eureka server itself. So the this microservice is a microservice in of itself, and we don't want it to register itself with Eureka because it is Eureka. So that's why we're doing that. Okay. So now let me come in here and we're going to go into producer resource and front-end service to try to actually fish out what's going on. So not public, app.js. Okay. And if I do this, I can actually just move those up. There we go. Okay, so we are just creating an app that listens on the port just like we always do. Okay, that's fine. And then, app.use session. I don't know what I was doing here. I don't know if we need it right now, but we'll deal with that later. It doesn't have to do with Eureka, so it's okay. Index router. So this is in our routes. Hold on. Index router should be a define up here. Yeah, okay, so we defined index router as the thing that we exported. So we're going to call that every time we get this path, and then from that we will have these other paths that we can try to reach. And I have a lot of different paths, okay? And that's actually one of the things that I was talking about yesterday, is when I was saying, I don't feel like they should all belong in this particular file, this index.js. I think I was right, because what I need to do is from my app, I need to have all of those different routes here, but then based off of, like, for example, I could have an app.use and then mapped to testing. And then this maps to a different object that I export. So testing router, like this, right? Obviously we haven't done that yet, but I would need to import it and create another file just like this, and then export it, and then capture it as testing. Okay, but we're not doing that right now. This isn't cleanup time. This is understand time. Okay, and in specific, we are trying to understand Eureka server. So, okay. Let's go to where the Eureka server might be here. Okay. There's a lot of files. Which one do we want to do? Okay, so these are the EJS files. That's fine. I'm actually going to close all of this so that we have a better idea of what we're working with. Okay. So now, close that, and we need to look in here to figure out what Eureka server is doing. So in theory, what should be going on is I have my Eureka microservice. It is listening for other entities to register themselves. That's a question. Where and when does an entity register itself? Okay, so in my front-end microservice, somewhere in here, it needs to be sending an API request to the Eureka server. And that also implies that there needs to be some information about who and what the Eureka server is, right? What port it's living on, what IP address it's living on, etc. So, that's one thing to look out for. What are other things to look out for? Okay, so I'm just going to keep going in theory what's going on. So after the Eureka server starts up, it's going to be listening for clients to connect and register themselves, okay? And then it's also going to listen for services to request information. Like, hey, who is producer resource? What's their IP address and port number? Okay. And then it needs to provide some information back. So I need to figure out where is the actual registering going on? Then where is the information coming back? And then how am I using that to actually perform the operations? Okay. So that's what I'm trying to do. So in here we do all of these which cause these files to automatically be run, right? So let's look. Services Eureka is ran right here. Is there anything else in services? Are any of the other ones actually even being run? I don't know. I know this one is, but I don't know about the other ones. So possibly this one is the one. Okay, I think this is called from my route. So I think within index.js, I'm going to come here, and this is going to call this producer service. Yep, right there. Okay. So then when I get this login or this one right here, I call it somewhere. I imported it as what? Producer service, okay. And it's used nowhere. Oh, here, okay. Oh, okay, so I'm just gonna communicate. So I'm communicating with the producer service. Now, I don't think I've tested this one yet, actually, yeah. Okay, so this one, we know that we're starting up. So const require Eureka JS client. Okay. And I'm capturing that here. And then should start it somewhere right here. Okay. But this is just, oh no, this is a function. So client.start, and then we have a callback function within as a parameter. Okay. So I'm creating a new object, new Eureka, okay. Here, and I am registering myself because this is the front-end gateway. So I'm calling myself front-end gateway. Now, in the producer microservice, because I'm using Spring, the Spring framework, I have that applications.properties file, and that is where I actually go and identify myself. Say this process's name is producer service, the IP address is this, all of that, right? But now I'm actually creating this object. So this is a constructor, right? And I'm passing in arguments. So I'm passing in a JSON object as arguments, and that is all of the parameters for initialization. Okay, and then this tells where to look for the Eureka server. Okay, and then start. This seems like an infinite while loop. And so my question right now is with here, when I go to, when I run this line of code, how does it ever exit? When I run this file from my app.js by calling the how does control get passed back to my app.js, because it seems that it is an infinite while loop. with the, what was it, eureka.start, client.start. All right. Okay. So, and you're absolutely right to question how the control flows here. Okay, whatever. What client.start actually does, the Eureka.js client library, client.start method, okay, so one of the methods within the Eureka.js client library starts a background process. Oh, okay. So it takes care of creating another process in the background, and I'm guessing we'll attach some kind of interrupt, either a periodic, like, watchdog timer kind of situation, or whenever it gets some kind of signal, and then it comes back up alive during that time. So for example, I don't know, I was hearing that the Eureka server needs a periodic kind of like heartbeat almost to say, hey, I'm still here, I'm still here, I'm still here. Otherwise, the Eureka server is going to drop it. So I think that's what's going on, is it creates, since periodic hey, there it is. Wow, it was the exact language that I used. Huh, okay. I guess there is some similarities between embedded systems and this. I mean, it literally just the word, but anyways. Fetches register, okay, whatever. While your app continues running, okay. Here's what happens. The file is loaded and executed, okay? Loaded and executed, yeah. This method is called. Internally, it sets up timers and intervals like set interval to send heartbeats, okay? The callback you pass to client.start is evoked once the initial registration is complete. Control returns immediately to app.js. Your Express server starts. Routes are mounted. Okay. Why it might feel like a loop. Okay. These are triggered by internal timers. Okay, that makes sense. If you want more control, you can export a start Eureka function instead. Yeah, I don't think I will. How about that? I don't think I will. Okay. So this is how we register. Awesome. And now I want to know, how do I utilize it? How do I actually how do I query the other microservices, find out their IP address and their port, and then use that information to actually send a request? Okay. I wish I had some coffee, but it's just water. What did I just say that I needed to do? Look into something. Hold on. I need to look into how to send those messages. That's what I was doing. Okay. So, let me actually just start with the route. That's right here, okay? So which is the one that I was doing? I did like test or something, right? No, I think I called test. Hello from Spring Boot. So I go to localhost 3000, which is my front end, and then I go to hello. Okay, and so that's what I'm looking for here. Here's hello. Okay. So now this is where I am going to be using that, what? Querying, yes. So I am doing this here, and I'm calling the Eureka server again. I don't think this is necessary. Okay, we're gonna see if it is. And then I am doing this service caller here. And service call is where? Async function. Okay. What is this up to? Okay. Where'd it go? Here. Call service here. Okay. So I create a function which is called call service, and that takes care of the logic for taking a name of the microservice. So I need to know the name of the microservice that I want to communicate with. That's normal, that's no problem. And the path. Okay. So I do that, and then I get the message that comes back to me. Okay. And I want to await because I want to get that message back. I don't want it to get a promise. Okay. So now this call service is here. So I am going to pass in the name of the service and the endpoint which I want to hit. It's almost like those names matched up. All right. So, what do we do? Get service URL. Okay. So now I'm passing in this name, and it's going to turn it into a URL for me. Okay. So this is the function that we need to spend our time on. Awesome. Okay, so these two functions, I mean, this file is what we need to spend our time on. Okay. So I take the name, which is the the name of the microservice that I want to communicate with. Okay, fine. And I put it to all uppercase because we're going to assume that it's uppercase, which I believe is the default in the Eureka server. So that's fine. Then we pass it to this get instance by app ID. I don't know what this is, and I don't know how it works. I see that we import this Eureka client. Hold on, does that mean? So, I guess my misunderstanding right now is whenever I do that, like this, I'm calling it twice, and so it's going to start multiple instances. Okay. One thing I am confused about now is in different files in my Node.js project, I have the same line of doesn't this start my Eureka client multiple times? And then it's gonna do its bouncing. Once it's done, we can go and enjoy the nutrition of information. Okay, so this is one of those subtle Node.js, and yeah, this is what something that is like a misunderstanding of my a core misunderstanding that I have of how JavaScript, and in particular Node.js actually works. And that's why I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable just now when I saw multiple of those import statements. I was like, wait, hold on a second. Are we just running the same thing twice? And what's going on? Okay. So, behaviors that really, okay. The sorter insert is no, it does not start my Eureka client multiple times. So let's try to figure out why. When I see this, Node.js does not rerun the file every time. Instead, it loads and executes the module once, caches the result here, okay, and then returns the cache result. Oh, okay, so it runs it, it executes it, it then it then caches that object in memory, in Node.js's memory. And then when you call it again by doing this right here, it already has this Eureka object loaded in its memory, in its cache, so it just returns it. Doesn't do it again. Okay. So now, another thing that we can kind of tie into this is because we're trying to develop our skills as software engineers is okay, well, this is the singleton design pattern, right? There's many different design patterns. Singleton enforces a single instantiation of an object. So there we are. So I can safely call this however many times I want. Yeah. Cool. So we got that. Now, so I called it, and I get this client. And this client must have a whole bunch of methods. And one of those methods is getInstance by app ID. Okay? And that will get, I don't know what it returns back, but it returns something back. We need to figure that out. Class Eureka. Okay. I can't even pretend to understand what's going on with that. Okay. What does this line do? What does it return? And how do I use it? I am looking for understanding. I already have the project operational. Okay. So while that's doing its thing, I feel like I should be able to go in here and actually understand what's going on. So export class Eureka. Okay, so I have this class. What is this app ID string and then these dots there? I don't know. Like, what is this? Like, here's another thing. Like, what is it, man? Okay. When I went to definition, I got this, but I have no idea what I am looking at. Okay. And let it do its bouncing. So we're gonna go read both of them. Okay, there we go. That, and then up here. So we're asking, what does this line do? What does it return and all of that information? Okay, so I don't care about that. That just puts it in uppercase. Here, queries the Eureka registry for all instances registered under the app ID. Okay, it returns an array of instances. Oh, an array of instances. Okay, that must be the case where, let's say that I had, Because one of the advantages of having the microservice architecture is that you're able to scale it, right? Let's say that my producer microservice is going to get a lot of traffic, and I actually want 10 instances of this microservice. So I can run it 10 times and have 10 different instances. And so each instance is going to register itself with Eureka Server. They're going to be running on different ports and possibly different IP addresses. Okay. And then that means I'm going to get back an array of 10 objects, all of which are producer services. And then it's up to me as the load balancer to select which one I want to send it to. Okay. So each item is going to look kind of like this. So it's a JSON object, and it's going to have instance name, so okay, host name, IP address, port, the status. Awesome. So from that I should be able to get how to send an API request to a specific endpoint at my microservice, at my other microservice. Okay, so how you use it. So now, instances for each, and then I can do, so ASYS, we haven't gotten there yet, okay, and then I do a GET request on that URL. So I want the URL. Yeah, I want the URL. I don't want, so if there are no instances, or the length is equal to 0, then I'd want to throw an error. Otherwise, I just grab the first instance. Aha, I see. Okay, well, see, now we're understanding what's going on and why we do this, because I had no idea yesterday. Okay, awesome. We just grabbed the first instance. So that's our load balancing. The first one every time. And then I pass back the URL that we want to send to. And what is the URL? It is the HTTP, okay? So the instance, the first, this one here, the first one's IP address, okay? Then the dot, just like we normally do. That's how I always build when I'm going into the browser. I come here and I type my IP address right there, localhost with a colon, and then the 3000. That's what I always do. And then the port right there. Okay, and then I just return that. And that's what gets here, base URL. Then what do? Is from the base URL, I just do another get, and I do a GET request, and I add this endpoint, which was whatever the test or hello or whatever I said. Yeah, API hello. So this is what we're sending. So I'm sending here, I'm going to send a GET request to the IP address of my producer resource, microservice, and the port number of my producer resource microservice, / the API hello. And now if I come into my producer resource, I look for the API things, API, and then hello, and then we hit this endpoint. Okay, we hit this endpoint and return this this, just hello from Spring Boot. So we get that, we get the response, and then we are able to return that. So we come back up to here. We do that, we get the message. So that's the hello from Spring Boot. We get that message. And then we send that as the response back. And that's why we saw it right here. So from my front end, I sent the request and then I got the response. So the response is just this hello from Spring Boot. Okay. That's really cool. Okay. Awesome. I think we put ourselves in a good foot forward. However that's supposed to be said. We took a good step forward. And we didn't get any development done, but we understand it a lot better, and now I feel like we can move forward with this project. So thank you guys for watching this video. I am going to be continuing with it probably in like an hour maybe. So I just need to take a little bit of a break, relax a little bit, and then I'll be back at it. So if that's interesting to you, subscribe. I would love to have you around, and I hope everyone has a good rest of the day. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I'll see you guys back in about an hour. Unless anything changes, I don't know. Maybe I can. Maybe I just fall asleep. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to make any promises. Never mind. All right. See you guys.